Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We will go in depth on using Jira Service Management for HR use cases. My name is Prabhu Palanisamy, and joining with me today is Cassie Goss. Cassie is having a little bit of a connectivity issues. She will be joining momentarily. Um, Cassie is an Atlassian solution expert who has helped several organizations adopt Jira Service Management. She is also an Atlassian champion who helps the community on Atlassian platform best practices and knowledge sharing. Before we dive in, couple of housekeeping rules. Please mute your microphone so that way we can avoid any background noise. Feel free to post your questions in the chat window so that we can cover during our presentation as well as at the Q&A session. This session is being recorded. We will share the recording in our social channels next week. All right, let's jump in, right? I'll start with the question. How do you all manage HR service requests? It will be very interesting to see at the high level. Emails is a ubiquitous way to get employee requests, Slack messages, if you will, and when customers look at it, the way to get started is a Jira Service Management project. You create a project, you have an incoming request. Now the question becomes, how do I triage it? How do I assign it? How do I automate it so that it gives a much better employee experience? Um, I'll go into the platform, couple of configuration best practices, little bit of a demo, and then when Cassie joins, we'd love to have Cassie give an overview of a recent customer implementation. I'll pick three examples here, right? When it comes to HR service management, obviously, you will have a Jira Service Management to manage the tickets. But where are the dependencies? At a high level, you will have a dependency to get employee information. Usually that's in a HCM system, right? I'll use NetSuite as an example. It could be ADP Workforce Now, SAP Success Factors, Bamboo HR, Bob HR. Like there are a number of HR systems. How do I get that employee data automatically so that I can resolve tickets and other contextual information? Then applicant tracking system, right? Like when there is a new hire, accepted the offer, can I pull in all the employee data, create a ticket for onboarding activities? In this example, I'll use Jazz HR. There are a lot of other recruiting tools that offer a similar use case. And then more importantly, identity provider, like where is my roles, groups, licenses, apps, provisions all managed? It's usually in an identity provider like Entra ID. It could be Okta, Ping, Savient, several other providers. These are all the core systems that are dependent to resolve HR service requests. How do we go from there? How do I handle onboarding and offboarding? Like meaning when there is a new employee created in a HR system, how do I automatically pull in and create those onboarding and offboarding tickets? How do I pull in the device data to know for a given employee what's the asset that is assigned? Could be a laptop, mobile, infrastructure, any other apps, licenses, etc. How do I manage it? So that way, when there is an employee request for change, additions, or even looking up like who is the manager for auto approval and so forth. Those are like questions that come in where when we set up JSM in a right way with the right integrations makes these ticket management and triaging much more powerful. I'll walk through that in a demo or like a couple of highlights, if you will. The first step is to have a project, right? The quick setup is to create a project, and in this case, Jira Service Management has a HR service template where there is a whole bunch of predefined request templates available to go. Request for leave, new employee onboarding, payroll setup, offboarding, etc. If we install this template, you have the project with all the request types ready to go. I usually recommend our customers to get started with this so that way you have a baseline and start customizing or configuring it from there on. Once you have this project installed, couple of security related data governance to make sure that you have the right roles, users, and access there to before you start building the next level. The security of it goes into multiple levels. First is your people and access. Given it's a HR service management, it's a sensitive, so you want to make sure that you have the right users are added so that you can control who has access to the project. Then the space level permissions, like meaning who can view it, who can report it, who can add it, all those activities. Then comes the ticket itself, in the sense, like say, for example, I don't want anyone to open a benefit related update ticket or in terms of offboarding related. I want to make sure only certain people have those access to create those tickets. So you may want to cut it down or restrict to that specific set of people. Then comes the actual work item itself. We can specify there are certain cases like offboarding or terminations or payroll related use cases where I want to make sure that particular request type we can lock it down and mention it as sensitive related management. Then you have request types, and in the request types you have option for restriction. So for example, as I said, I don't want anybody to conduct an exit interview or like open a ticket to complete it. I want to make sure that only certain people have access to even create that particular ticket, and also similarly to view those tickets. So that way it's not an open, and we can avoid in use cases where certain particular user or group do not need access to it. I'll pause there. These are like foundational to make sure that you have those security related activities taken care of. There are a lot of other configurations needed, but just wanted to give you the teaser for security level considerations. The next setup is, if I were to open an onboarding ticket, if you will, right? How imagine a scenario where there is a ticket automatically created when there is a new hire. Let's say in this case, Kevin Scott, with all the information of Kevin, the details, the department, the location, the hiring manager, when the start date, etc., available to go with a whole bunch of activities that needs to be completed. How this is possible? One, you can manually enter it, like someone sends an email and then you manually enter it, or if there is a native integration to HR system, so as soon as an employee record is created in your HR system, we pull in and create that Jira ticket. Right? This is where integration between JSM and your HR system is makes a powerful enabler here. How is that possible? One way in terms of integration is your assets. You can define your asset schema to include your employee records, then branch it out to your devices, then your enter ID or like your identity managers, role, groups, etc., and manage that dependency and relationship all within the asset schema. So that way I have the worker ID, the employment details, all those things. And now I can have an automation where as soon as entry gets created in asset, start creating the tickets in Jira and assign it to the relevant support agents. That's one functionality. And that particular functionality is supported in an application that we have built. Is called OnLink. So that's one way of it. The other integration mechanism out of assets that we support is called webhooks. Webhooks is a real-time event where as soon as an integration, meaning an event gets created on the HR side, JSM finds about it. We have created webhook support for SAP SuccessFactors, Velocity, ADP Workforce Now, etc. So in this case, it's a real-time event where as soon as an event gets created, it gets pulled in and a ticket gets created on the JSM side. So depending on your use cases, you can get the asset integration complete where you can load multiple imports. What we usually recommend is to get your employee data from your HR systems, right? NetSuite, SuccessFactors, etc. So that's your employee data. Then your device data, which is your Intune, Kanjis of the world, Adigis of the world, where you manage your devices, pull in the device data, and then your identity management data, which is apps, roles, groups, licenses, provisions, assignments that is usually available in Entra ID or Okta or Ping, Savient. Bring that three together. That itself is a good starting point before you go into additional data sources. And once you have that, then the ticket assignment, let's say, for example, for this new hire, what provisioning should I do it? And for that, the roles and the groups automatically I can pull in from the assets. Laptops, okay, who should I be the approver or where should I assign it? Because I already know the department and the start date of this particular new employee. All those are possible. Then the assignment itself, since we have it in assets, now we can pull in asset related data right within the ticket itself. So that way I have all that information that I could now assign or even remove a particular device assignment at the ticket level, and automatically it will get synchronized on the assets. So that's a quick overview in terms of setting it up, a project service template, setting the security, data governance, and an overview of assets as well as webhooks. So that way you get the picture of how like a typical implementation will look like. Before I give it to Cassie, I will also highlight, obviously, in today's world, use of AI, right? Like there is a lot of, advancements happening. I will give a teaser of how Atlassian Robo will help with HR service management use cases. Once you have Rovo enabled in your environment, so for each project that you set up, you will have an option to create a Rovo agent. You create a Rovo agent, and here you have our ability to start configuring it. So, for example, I will set the type as I'm a HR service agent, help with HR related support requests. In the behavior, you can specify in HR. So you give these prompts, like, in terms of setting up like what that particular agent needs to do. We can generate conversation starters. So that way, those information are available. And once this setup is ready to go, we can assign the knowledge. This is where the agent becomes intelligent. You can specify your Confluence pages. You have specific external articles if you have. So that way, these articles becomes the source for issue triaging and so forth. You can add skills like what are the capabilities of this agent. It can triage the ticket, it can raise the ticket, it can do assignments, auto approval. There is a whole bunch of you know skills that you can add, so that way that agent becomes intelligent. Then it becomes like the ability to add. So by default you can add the robo agent to a customer portal. So that way, when there is a ticket open, you can have employees, self-service or work with the robo agent. You can also add to a help center, if you will. So that way, you have that particular help portal added as well. So when someone goes into the help portal, you will have the robo agent capability. Once this is set up, you can start interacting Rovo agent in multiple places. As I said, at the employee request level, at the help portal, help center, or the support portal, where users can triage a request before opening a ticket. At the ticket level itself, now Rovo is capable of supporting it. So let's say if I go to a particular ticket, and once I need to do the response, I have capability to take help of Rovo. And here I can select, instead of a generic one, I want my support agent specifically tuned for HR use cases to complete the support request. So those are the advantages you get when you have a Rovo agent enabled for HR use cases. Hope that is useful. Um, I think now Casey is back. Hi, Casey.
Yes, hi everyone. Can you hear me okay? I'm very sorry. My electric went out. I'm here in Northern Virginia and we had a lot of snow the prior week and I live in the woods and it took out my entire power today. So I
Oh.
unfortunately am at a Starbucks. It's a bit loud in here. So I'll do my best. But I did want to tell you about how I actually implemented this system of work with Prabhu and this particular add-on for one of my clients. They actually came to me with a problem that I'm sure a lot of people face. And that was really the interconnectivity of their teams during their onboarding process. So essentially, HR would get someone coming down the pipeline, a new hire of any sort, and then IT would find out about it a dollar too late, a day too shy. And now the onboarding process and the first impression with this new hire was not the greatest. Oftentimes, this client told me that their new hire wouldn't actually be fully onboarded until maybe week 2 of their actual start date, which they, as many would agree, thought that this was unacceptable and that they could do better. So I sat down with them and we investigated what systems they currently use. So their HR was using Jazz HR, like we see here in the example. And they had another team who takes that employee data and enters it into NetSuite. So everybody was doing this manually in all of these individual systems, entering basically the same data over and over and over. then IT would finally get told about this new hire coming on, and they would take this same data and enter it into, say, their identity manager to give access to certain tools, to spin up the user's, email identity, and all of this. So basically, they were just always repeating the entry of the same data sets over and over and paying for many people in many departments and lots of time wasted to do this. So what we ended up doing was we had Jazz HR initiate the ticket creation into their Jira Service Management that said, hi, we have a new person coming. And then once that data was ingested, a few other data points were added to that ticket. And then that actually creates the NetSuite profile in NetSuite for the person. So they only had to enter the additional data. They didn't have to re-enter the data they already knew. And then once that happened, it created this asset for the person, the employee. And that is able to then get the records from, say, Entra or Intune and show what this device this person had, what roles or groups they were placed in, what access to different software they were provisioned. So full stop, we had this record now and one source of truth for this person and all that they should and shouldn't have access to, what devices were checked out, their current employment status, their employee data, like who's their manager, what department they work for. So it's cool. Once we had that in there, the power that this unlocked was not just saving their team time from entering this repeat data. It actually then all that data could be leveraged when this user submitted a question to IT or submitted a question to HR. Now the asset data can now be used on their ticket to the right. So IT, for example, knows which device they're having a problem with, knows what role or their manager to ask for approval to the right person. HR would also be able to see that data because now they have this common place and they're not having to check multiple systems to pull in all that data points and data sets. Instead, that all lives right there in that person's asset, which is so cool and very powerful. So when you click on a person, you could see what device is checked out. When you click on the device, you could see the person it's checked out to. And all of this is interconnected for the teams to work on. So I'm going to pause there. It was really a time-saving effort for it was a smaller team. They didn't have a lot of people and a lot of time to be spending entering this repeat data. It also took them out of silos where they were handling things through email and Teams channel chats. Instead, we brought that right here into a single source of truth in a Jira ticket where everybody could work together to get this person onboarded. So it went from it taking maybe 2 weeks to get someone fully onboarded to it taking, the day before the person started, they were ready to go. They had everything they needed. And they were provisioned correctly. Their assets were assigned correctly. Their NetSuite profile was completely set up and all the, department's needs were satisfied for onboarding. I want to take time to take any questions kind of about that because it's really the high level because Prabhu dove into the kind of how, the technical how more than I've been able to really speak about. Do you guys have any questions about that, or do you have a pain point similar that you're trying to solve? Let me check the chat here. Do we have any chatter in the chat? No chatter. So you guys your HR system's perfect. It's perfectly working.
No, definitely not. But
I was like, you guys are awfully quiet over there for attending this webinar.
yeah, well, we need to internal discussion with the HR team and getting some feedback after, so.
Yeah. And we're happy to help. So if configuring your JSM project sounds scary and
Yeah.
all that stuff he talked to you about provisioning and just kind of went, whoop, well, that's where I come in and that's where I can help. And Prabhu and I will work together as a team. I'll make sure your JSM is implemented correctly in a way that scales
Yes,
and
we do.
grows. And then
Yes.
Prabhu can help with that connection between the tools with his Onward app.
In case
Excellent.
you just talk about power outage in your area, right? Due to the snowing.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. So you may want to search for the Tesla Powerwall, and they may offer alternative solution if you have power outage in your area, you still have
Nice.
power in your house. Now they have a leasing program. You pay a couple $100 per month. I'm not a Tesla salesperson, but they can definitely check out this option. So I
This
know
is
power outage,
so rare.
yeah, power outage is really annoying. I used to live in Canada. We have a 6 month snowing, so power outage is a very big issue.
Usually this is not the expected weather here in our area, right, Prabhu? Because Prabhu
Right,
doesn't live
right.
very far from me. It's
Hmm.
not very typical to have extreme weather like this. And I
Oh,
think
okay.
it's because of the wooded area I live in is this issue that I'm
Yeah.
having right now with all the
Listen,
frozen
I'm a
trees.
Tesla. Yeah, I'm a
Right,
Tesla
right.
users. I own a couple of Tesla vehicles. They send me an email says they now offer a leasing option for their solar system and also the power wall. All you need to
Nice.
do is pay a couple $100 a month. You can check on their website.
I will
You don't have to pay.
definitely.
Yeah, you don't have to pay 45, 50 grand or even 70 grand. No, not that much. Just pay a couple $100. After a few years, they offer you a buy option. But probably there's a potential issue in this deal, but yeah, you can definitely
The
check
only
out.
issue is that there's, because of my house's location being with trees, I might not get enough
Um,
sunlight to
okay,
effectively use
so
it.
so
But we will explore.
you have another option. You don't have to do solar panels since you guys now live in California probably, but you can still do the power wall. It's a
Oh,
battery.
okay.
It's a
Yeah, yeah,
battery system.
that would definitely really help me,
Yeah,
truthfully.
you can charge
A
a battery.
generator.
Yeah, you can charge a battery and let's say off peak, right? I mean
Yes, exactly.
yeah, and when there was an emergency, the power will get involved. Yeah,
I will
you don't have to get
definitely
your solar panel things. We
definitely
talk
be
about
shopping for that.
Yeah, we talk about two different things. I know a bunch of
What
people
we
say, "Oh,
can
well, I'm not living in California like you guys. I don't need a solar panel." You need a solar panel.
what we can do
You
is
can
when
still
we
use
do
the
the
power
webinar
wall.
recording sharing, we'll also put a link for the power wall.
For the link for the
Yeah.
Powerwall.
Yeah, I'm last time I
So
had
let me
power
bring it
outage in
home.
my
Like couple of key takeaways, right?
yeah.
So use of assets. I'm sure I know when people look at Jira Service Management,
Mhm.
what we have noticed is like assets could be an afterthought. Take advantage of assets, right? Like it's not just using for to store your hardware devices and device related information. Start with employee data as a foundational, and then build dependencies to your device data, your roles,
Yeah,
groups, data
centralized
sets.
platform is much better, but different company they have different policy. They do have probably have a separate asset management system, but it depends. Yeah, but
Yes,
I can explain to the BYD team since they're pretty new to the JSM, but
sure.
that won't be an
Well,
issue.
the
Exactly.
thing about having them in one place, it creates, so having an external asset system, we can connect it and feed it into the Jira assets. So you're
Yeah, we did
still
that. Yeah, I did
fine to
that.
do that. But you definitely want to do that and integrate them so that you can leverage all that value and that data that comes from having it live in the JSM tool set.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The
and the
integration of it.
BYD right currently using ADP Workforce. So yeah, I
Yeah,
know you guys
Hmm.
support ADP. So I would
exactly.
talk to the HR team to let them know you guys have automation, automatic solution, automation or whatever you call. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's what they want to do. They want to do automation, for provision and deprovision ticket should be
Yeah.
automatic processing the system.
Exactly.
We don't need the HR team to manually log into the system to submit those requests. All we need to do is read the data for ADP, Workforce via API, whatever, master.
Exactly.
Most
It's a
likely
very
from.
common use case,
Yeah, it's more
right? So,
common use. We did the same thing anyway, but BYD, right? They want to do this.
yeah, that's the integration piece of it, right? So from ADP or NetSuite or
Yeah,
SuccessFactors to pull
is it
in.
less just an automatic pull out the data for ADP platform, and all you need to do is, yeah, when you're sitting commit ticket, you handle ticket, and that's it.
Exactly. Then comes the process definition, right? Like this is where someone like Casey will very become crucial, right? Like, what are you gonna, or like maybe even why are you doing it, right? The assets, the integration gives the raw data, but defining the process, defining the actor, the actions, and the transitions of like how that process of onboarding or offboarding or changes becomes crucial. JSM is feature rich. You have tons of feature, and maybe
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah, yeah. I
you have
totally
multiple
agree.
ways to do or solve for the same problem. What's best effective? It could be helpful to define. Then comes your workflows, right? How do you take that process that you defined and build it in the JSM workflows? Becomes a crucial step. Then these days, there is nothing, you cannot end a conversation without AI in it, right? Atlassian's AI is Rovo. Now, Rovo agents can be added to any JSM project, and you can
Yeah, robo
configure it.
agent's great and the 24/7 online. We like that feature.
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
Employee service
definitely
request, etc.
that's a definitely very impressive feature. And for automation, we save a lot of labor costs if you apply the proper automation process. But the company will ask, "But you guys put a couple of $100 on couple of $7 on this project. So what gonna happen? What's gonna happen? You can save a lot of money on labor cost. Now we have a big HR team here. I don't think we need that much. Just kidding.
Yep. And then
Also,
finally,
also
so
the
go.
argument for cost savings shouldn't just be in labor cost. It should be in licensing cost. So a lot of times when you have a disjointed HR onboarding system, what happens is people get added to licenses that they don't actually need because there is no process to define exactly what that specific person needs. So they
Yes,
get
correct.
kind of given over licensing. So a lot of times that's a huge save and a huge
Yeah, I know
win.
a bunch of company, they don't do audit. You don't know what happened.
Yes.
Yeah, you just saw, oh, the invoice, I mean the total
Yeah,
amount,
there's
yeah, keep increasing, but you don't know what happened.
exactly, exactly. And these kind of processes and systems that are interconnecting help really avoid that occurring. And then when you stop the leak, you can actually fix the problem and go and do those audits and
Yeah,
make
yeah, yeah,
sure because you've stopped
yeah.
the leak. Mhm.
Yeah, now a bunch of company, they do not perform internal audit, so they just, keep paying the money which they don't need to pay.
Excellent. Excellent conversation. I'm sure, like, Nick, others found it beneficial as well. Thank you, Casey, for your time. I know it was a little bit challenging. Appreciate your insight. If you could share
Enjoy
your
your time in
contact details
Starbucks.
in the chat window so that way Marco and others have it. I will also include it when we share the webinar recording as well.
Thanks, Casey.
Perfect. With that, we'll conclude our today's webinar. Hope you guys found it useful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We will be happy to help. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.